All right, hello everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. The microphone's a little far away. We are going to get some equipment to actually do better streaming. I'm currently, or better recording. I'm currently recording on my iPod, and it's very jankily hung above me so that we can actually do this. But I wanted to get one on the record here. So we'll post a picture of the janky setup. But anyway, so I've got my playmat here. It is a little warped, but I like it. It is from Force of Will, as you can see down here, and it's bunny rabbits eating zombies. So what's not to love? All right. Anyway, so I've got something cool for you today. I did get my hands on some Final Fantasy Opus 1. I've got quite a bit of this already, but I wanted to open some more because I'm looking for some specific cards. Knowing my luck, I probably won't get them, but you're going to go on the journey with me here. I do also have some Opus 3 that I'm going to open at some other future video, so hope. I am hoping for specifically the legendary Zidane, and as you can see, this was shrink wrapped still, so I'm going to open it up and throw away the cellophane. Okay, so we got a nice little lightning picture there on the front. The cards of this game are very, very pretty. There is a foil in every pack. There are 4 rarities. There are 4 rarities. There's common, rare, heroic, and legendary. So if you're familiar with Magic, they're basically the same things: common, uncommon, rare, and mythic. Same general concept. The card I'm looking for specifically, I have 1 copy of. Play sets in this game are 3. So I'm looking for 2 more, specifically of the Zidane that is a legendary. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The packaging is very pretty. The one thing that I'm really not happy with about this particular game is they have the tear tab here, and you can't just kind of open them the normal way. And the tear tab, you do run the risk of maybe messing up the corners a little bit, so I recommend you tear out rather than down, and then just kind of rip it open. Everybody likes ripping things open, so there you go. The basic cards here, I'm just going to kind of show you what they look like. Obviously, you've got your typical Final Fantasy style here. There are 2 types of characters and 1 type of spells. So currently, these are backups. You can see right here, backups are like your energy producers. They are used to summon other things. And forwards are your typical units that you use to attack. And these are all, the first bunch of cards are just your commons. So these are all cards that we're going to get a lot of. I did get a very, very nice card here for my foil. My foil is a foil heroic for chaos. It is a dark card. Dark cards are one of the 2 rarer types of energy that you can use. Crystal power, I believe, is what it's called. I'll get the terminology right for the next video. And this is your 3rd type of card. It's a summon. It's just basically a spell card. You can play it pretty much any time. This one happens to be an EX burst, which means that if you get hit by your opponent and this gets pulled as the card that's your damage card, you get this effect anyway. So I did get Shiva as one of my rares, which is the uncommon slot. Warrior of Light as another rare, Alexander as another summon rare, and then Bartz as my heroic, which is my rare card. He's pretty good. So basically when he comes into play, he activates or untaps all of your forwards that you have. So very, very powerful effect. So I'm going to kind of put all the stuff that's kind of good in its own pile, and then we'll go through them a little bit later. So we'll just jump into the next pack again. Pull out, not down, so you don't mess up your cards. All right. So we've got some basic commons. You've got a Cid here. It wouldn't be Final Fantasy without Cid. Another Shiva. This Yuffie is actually quite good for a 1-drop. She can't be blocked by forwards of cost 3 or more, so and most of the forwards you'll see are pretty big, and they're you want to play the higher point values, but in this game, no matter how much attack damage you do to your opponent, it does 1 damage, and the first person to take 7 damage loses. So if you attack and are not blocked, they take 1 damage for the most part. We did get a foil rare here, so that is a equivalent to a foil uncommon. I do have quite a few of him already, but that's okay. These are our rares right here. So we've got Gilgamesh and Mustadio, and then Cecil, who is one of my absolute favorite Final Fantasy characters from my favorite Final Fantasy game. So this one's from Final Fantasy IV. So this one's really cool because it's kind of a defensive card. It is a forward that says any summons or abilities your opponent's play must choose him if possible. So if they have a card that says I want to kill one of your other dudes, they have to target Cecil first. So it's a pretty nifty card. And then this is another of the 2 non-specific color palettes. This one's a white one. This one's a backup that basically is like, if you're familiar with Magic, it's a kind of like a City of Brass, but without your taking damage on it. So basically she taps for any type of mana or crystal power, so it's pretty good. Unfortunately, I already have a full playset of her, but that's that's the way the cookie crumbles a little bit. All right, let's jump into pack number 3. All right, again, we're just gonna breeze past most of these commons. I did get a foil Yuffie here, which I like because I do like using the foils. The foils are, I didn't like them at first, and they're kind of growing on me, so I do like them a little bit now. So our rares are Vaughn from 12. We got Orin from Tactics, and Sylph from Tactics as well. And then our rare, or heroic, is Kane. This Kane is pretty good. The cool thing about this game is each named character is unique. If you'll notice, this guy over here says EX. That's because he's an EX burst. Let me find a card that is not unique so I can show you the difference here. If you'll notice, the summoner here, it says standard unit, and these over here, it has the 3 cards right up here in the corner. That means that you can use 3 of this guy in your deck. Now, if you don't have that, you can only use 1, or have 1 in play. You can have 3 in play of that guy. This guy, you can only have 1 in play, no matter where it's at. If you had a backup of Kane, you could not have him in play and a forward Kane. So the cool thing about these S moves is that they allow you to discard your other versions of this guy and use them for a powerful effect. So basically, this guy says discard one of him, pay 2 purple or 2 lightning, and choose 1 forward and break it. So you just destroy 1 guy, and then he just stays tapped for a turn. So pretty powerful. All right, let's move on to pack number 4. All right, so again, just go through the commons here, and I'll throw those aside. Got a foil Gilgamesh, which isn't too bad. Our rares are Lightning. So basically, she is a 4-cost, 4,000 power, but she taps or dulls a creature when she comes into play. And she has haste, so she can attack right away, which is pretty good. We got Seraphy and we got Leviathan. I consider the dark blue color, which I believe is water, is kind of the annoying color, because this card here basically returns a forward to the owner's hand, and then they have a lot of things like freezing people so they don't untap and things like that. And it's like blue and Magic, just very annoying. Okay, so this card is our heroic, which would be our rare if you're thinking in Magic terms again. So Ricard is a 4-drop, 8,000 power, not too bad. He's from Final Fantasy II. He is a Dragoon, and then he has this ability that says pay 1 purple and you break him, and you choose one of your forwards or a forward in general, and it cannot be broken this turn. Now, most often this is going to be used as defensive for your guys, but there are cards in the game that say when they get put into the break zone, do something ridiculous. So you could do this and say, okay, you can't break that this turn. You would lose this guy, but at the same time it might save you the game. So there are a couple different applications you could use him for. Alright, let's jump into pack number 5. I'm talking a lot, so it's going to be like an hour before we get done with this, but whatever. Alright, again, commons. We do have an uncommon here that is a rare, or an uncommon foil. Amodar is not too bad. Nothing amazing or anything. So we got some interesting ones here. One of our rares is Squall. He is from 8, if you're not familiar with that. He has 4-drop with 6,000 powers to start, but if you control Laguna, he gains plus 3,000 as long as she is in play. When he enters the field, so whenever you play him from your hand, each player discards 1 card from their hand, and if you control Laguna, again, your opponent discards 2 cards. So if you control Laguna, not only does he come in as a 9,000 power, but you discard 1 and your opponent discards 2. So he's pretty good. Furion is just like the master, or the jack of all trades type of thing. He's kind of cool. He's a red 4-drop for 7,000, but you can pay 1 to give him first strike of any color. You can pay 1 of any color to give him brave, which is, in Magic terms, would be vigilance, so he doesn't tap to attack. You can pay 2 of any color to choose 1 forward and deal it 1,000 damage. So if you have a bunch of crystals out there, you can just pay a bunch of that and deal a bunch of damage to somebody if you want. Or you can pay 2 to give him plus 1,000 power till the end of turn. So again, just a jack of all trades type of thing. Nothing overwhelmingly powerful, but pretty good nonetheless. Onion Knight is one of those cards that you probably wouldn't expect people to play, but it has a powerful enough effect that people will play it and kind of blow you out if you're not prepared for it. So basically it says when he enters the field, choose 1 damaged forward and deal it 5,000 damage. So if you have a guy out there, say like Furion, who has attacked and you blocked, or you attacked and he blocked with Furion and he's only taken 2,000, you then play this guy and it deals 5,000 to it and breaks him. So just out of blue, you can kind of blow somebody out with that kind of a card. On its face, it's not very powerful, but it is kind of interesting. We got our first legendary, which would be like your mythic rares in Magic. This is Shantoto from Final Fantasy XI. It is, this one's ridiculous because it's a backup, so it's one of your mana ones. Costs 7, and it says, if Shantoto is on the field, it gains the elements of fire, ice, wind, earth, lightning, and water, so all of them. And when Shantoto enters the field, so whenever you play this card, you remove all forwards from the game. So basically, they don't even go to the break zone. You just remove all of them from the game permanently. And it's pretty powerful effect. Again, it is a high cost, but just a ridiculous card. It's another one of those that, on its face, you wouldn't think that it would be that powerful, other than the fact that you get to choose when to play it. So you could play it when you have nothing on the field and they have a bunch of stuff, and then it just kind of blows them out. It's pretty nifty. So again, commons. We ended up with a foil of one of the S cards, so that's from one of the starters, from the original 3 starters that they came out with, which would be Final Fantasy 7, 10, and 12, I believe, were the 3. But anyway, so this one's a starter foil, so you get the foil cards from the starters in the booster packs. Okay, so we got a few more cards here. Fang, not too bad. I'm not going to go through all these. Seymour here is kind of annoying. When he enters the field as a backup, you choose a forward who costs 3 or less and just break it, which is, fair, I guess. But pretty cool card. Here's another Yuffie. It's a little bit different. The other Yuffie was a 1 cost for 3,000 attack, and she couldn't be blocked by a forward cost 3 or more. This Yuffie is a 3 cost. For 6,000 attack that can't be blocked by a forward of cost 4 or more, and she also has a S ability. So you can basically discard another one of her, choose up to 3 forwards, divide 6,000 damage among them, but you have to do it in 1,000 increments. So she's pretty cool too. I was using her and the other Yuffie in a deck that I was building. Incidentally, the one that I'm looking for Zidane for, because Zidane is a super powerful version of this type of effect. So it's pretty cool. Now we come to one of the most annoying cards in the original set. It's a great card. This is a heroic card that was going for quite a bit of money. They did, it's not anymore because they put out some more cards in the second set that kind of mitigated his effect a little bit. Still very, very powerful. But it's a backup, cost 3. And it says, forwards you control don't receive damage that is less than their power. So if your forward is 8,000 power and you want to do 2 different increments of 5,000 and 3,000 to kill it, you can't do that. It will just not work. Those 2 amounts would be reduced to 0 on any of your forwards. So you would have to find something that did 8,000 damage in one shot in order to do that. So this Minwu is very, very annoying. Great card though. Very, very powerful. Oops, grab 2 packs at once. My bad. All right, let's jump into another pack. All right. Again with the commons. All right, my foil is Leviathan. This is that one that I was telling you about before. It's just the annoying blue color. Choose a forward, return to the hand. We do have Duke Larg, Brynhildr. Brynhildr's a pretty good one. Just a choose 1 forward, do 7,000 damage. Very simple burn spell, pretty cool. Cat Sith has a lot of text. So from Final Fantasy VII. So basically it says, when Cat Sith enters the field, choose 1 backup of cost 1 or less and break it. That's their mana base or their crystal base. And then he has a S ability to remove the top card of your deck from the game. If it's a forward, deal 7,000 damage to all the active forwards the opponent controls. So pretty powerful. I don't know that there are very many Cat Siths out there in the game. I've seen a couple, but I'm not 100% familiar with every card that's been released yet. So that might be a limited type ability you could do, but it is still very powerful. This is Saz from Final Fantasy XIII. He is a heroic here. He's a backup, so keep in mind that this is a backup. It's not one of the ones that attacks. This is one that gives you your crystal power to summon other things. So this one says, choose 1 forward, deal 2,000 damage, and Saz will not activate, so he'll stay tapped for a turn. If you have cast Brynhildr this turn, the one that I talked about before, deal that forward 4,000 damage instead, and then he won't activate as well. So if you played Brynhildr this turn, he does 4,000 damage, basically for free for losing him for 1 turn. So pretty powerful effect if you're playing red. Red is very similar to Magic Red. It's just burn spells and really fast attacks and things like that. All right, let's check out the next pack here. All right, we've got a bunch of those. We got an Aerith here. It's a common foil. She has a backup. When she enters the field, you choose a backup you control other than her and activate it. So you can pay for her and then untap one of the people that, or one of the things you tapped for her, and use it again that turn. So just a mana efficiency or crystal efficiency, I guess. And then we got some of our rares. Enakros is from World of Final Fantasy, and she basically says that all Earth forwards you control gain 1,000 power. So while she's in play as a backup, which are a lot harder to kill than forwards, each of your Earth forwards, so the yellow color, will gain 1,000 power just as they're out there. So pretty powerful. A little limited use because a lot of decks are multiple colors, so you might only gain 2,000 or 3,000 power from that, but that does add up. And we got Waka, who's the exact same card except for dark blue. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Here's that Laguna again. So we're going to put that away. Here's Auron, who's a heroic. Again, 6,000 or 6 energy for 9,000 power. He's from Final Fantasy X. When he deals damage directly to your opponent, you may play 1 fire backup from your hand onto the field, dull or tapped. So basically, you just get a free backup, fire backup, if you hit your opponent with this guy, which is a pretty powerful effect. In this game, it's not game breaking. Because one of the cool things about this game is that you can discard cards of a color to get 2 crystal energy of that color. And so it makes it a lot easier to get things onto the field. Again, commons, we'll maybe go through some of that later. This is Sid. He's a rare foil. Got a lot of text. We'll just not go over that right now. If I run into another one, we might go over it. Here's Vincent. He's a forward, and when Vincent attacks, he gets first strike, so he's a 5-drop with 9,000 power. And then he has an S ability to just deal 6,000 damage to a forward. Now, he's better off attacking, obviously, because when you attack, you get first strike, and that means he deals his 9,000 damage before the opponent gets to deal any damage, and that's pretty powerful. This is one of the Tituses in the deck that is, or in the set, that's not as powerful. Still an okay one, but if you notice, we had that Waka earlier that gave all water forwards 1,000 power as a backup, just kind of sitting there. This guy gives all of your water forwards 1,000 power until end of turn whenever he attacks. So he attacks as a 9,000. So this says all water forwards. So he is 1, so he gets it as well. If it said all other, then it would be just all the other ones, obviously. So pretty okay, just not overwhelmingly powerful. This is a very simple backup card called Sarah from Final Fantasy 13. It's interesting because this is a very subtly powerful effect that people don't kind of give enough credence, I don't think. But basically it says if you control a card named Snow, either backup or forward, this card or the Snow card cannot be chosen by your opponent's ability. So they can't use a Brynhildr to kill it or whatever. So, or send it back to your hand. It can't be targeted when Sarah is on the field. So that can be a very subtly powerful effect to keep your opponents from doing things to very important characters of yours. So don't discount abilities like that don't sound very powerful. This card is a heroic. It's Gordon from Final Fantasy II. He's a 2-drop with 4,000 power, and he says you tap him or dull him, and the next damage dealt to him becomes 0 on this turn. So in response to a summon says, hey, I'm going to deal 6,000 damage to that guy, you can tap him and say, nope, that's 0. Also, you can block somebody and then tap him and say, okay, I take 0. So it's just an annoying card. It's not overly powerful, but it is powerful enough that they thought that it should be a heroic. So, all right, let's get into another pack. All right, and I've been talking a lot, so I'm going to take a drink of water. Okay, as normal, we're just going to jump past these. All right, so this Tifa is surprisingly good for a 2-drop. Basically, she's a 2-drop, 4,000 power that has haste, and so first turn you can attack in and get in for some damage pretty much right away with a card like Tifa, because if you discard a card that's red, you get 2 red mana, and you can just play her and then attack immediately. Now, a 2-drop with 4,000 power isn't amazing, but it is pretty powerful with haste. So that's a pretty nifty card. All right, so we've got Barrett here, pretty standard with an S ability. Yagrosh is kind of annoying. He says summons or abilities of your opponents must choose him if possible. That means that he protects your other backups. So annoying, but not overly powerful. Here's a Terra from Final Fantasy VI. And she's got a lot of text, but basically she says that when she enters the field, if your opponent has some tapped or dull characters, you choose 2 of them forwards and deal them each 4,000 damage. You can pay 1 ice crystal power to dull 1 forward and deal it 1,000 damage. And then she has an S ability that says if this turn she gains, if she deals damage to a forward, double the damage until end of turn. So what you can do is you can discard 1 of her, say, okay, I'm going to double all of her damage, and then just deal a bunch of damage to your opponent's forwards if you want. It's not overly powerful because it's in 1,000 increments, so it's pretty slow. I like this Y'shtola as a card. It's just a very, very well designed card. It's a 2-drop, 3,000 power, not very impressive in that. But if you pay a wind, choose a forward, deal 1,000 damage, you can do that over and over and over again. And then she also has a tap ability or a dull ability to dull her and choose a forward to deal 2,000 damage. So you can do a ton of damage to something in 1 turn. Now, if you think about that Minwoo that I was talking about before, he kind of blanks her pretty much completely because 1 and 2,000, you don't see too many that have just 1 or 2,000 power. So she would be blanked by Minwoo. So you'd have to find a way to get rid of Minwoo before you were able to use her. But I do like the design of this card. It's very, very, very cool. And the picture's nice. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay. Ooh, we got something good. All right. This is our first foil legendary. We usually get about 2 of them per box, depending. This is a black element Sephiroth. That is a legendary. He is a forward. He has 8,000 health. He has first strike. And when he comes into the field, you choose a backup and you break it. Just kill a backup. So if they have Minwoo, kill him first because Minwoo's annoying. Anyway, but that's not a bad card. It's a little overpriced for what it does, I think. But the art on it is very, very cool. And the effect is powerful enough to warrant it. Now, the interesting thing about black and white as colors is there's a limit to how many you can have in play and things like that. So you can only have 1 black or 1 white, I believe, in play at a time. So unless there's something like the one that I showed you at the beginning, that's the backup that gives any color. She specifically says on her that if she's in play, you can have another one of light in play. So specifically, those ones allow you to have multiples. But anything like this Sephiroth here, if you have it in play, you can't play any of the other ones. So, but they are very, very powerful for what they do. This Auron is very annoying. Basically says any of your backups can't be broken by your opponent's summons or abilities. So if you had Auron in play and they played Sephiroth, they'd try to break your backup and he'd be, nope, you can't do that. So just kind of blanks that card that we just pulled. Kind of interesting. So this guy is a backup that says when he enters the field, you can search for 1 job knight. So the jobs are in the middle here. So he's a war hero. He's a guardian. This guy's a duke. But any card that has the knight job in the middle, and you can grab it and add it to your hand, not too bad. Nora is a backup that when she enters the field, you can search for a card named Hope and add it to your hand. There's some pretty okay hopes, so Nora's not too terrible. 3 is a weird spot for backups. My preference is 2, simply because then you can just discard 1 to play 1, and it's kind of a crystal neutral interaction there. And card neutral interaction, so I like that better than 3-drops. Now, 3-drops are sometimes necessary, and what you'll want to do is kind of play a couple of them and then use one of them and discarding a card to play another one. But it is a pretty good card. And we got Kamari from Final Fantasy X here. He is a heroic. He's got an S ability, and it says choose one forward opponent controls. Kamari gains its special ability until the end of turn. And you can use this ability without paying any cost, but only once, which is very, very powerful. It has to be an activated ability. It can't be something like a come into play ability, because he's not coming into play. He's just copying that ability. So, but it is very powerful. There are some very powerful abilities out there. If I pull one, there's a cloud in this set that basically just says tap him to kill something. So, you know, he could copy that ability, which is quite powerful. All right. I hope we're still recording. If not, I'm just talking to the air. That's okay, though. Sweet. All right. Let's check the next one. Okay, what do we got here? Just a bunch of commons. We'll throw those over here for now. This is that tarot that we pulled, but it's in foil. I've got Rain from World of Final Fantasy here. When she enters the field, you can search for Lon and add to your hand, and then she has an ability that says she gives Lon plus 1,000 power till end of turn. Pretty okay. This Gilgamesh is kind of interesting. We did run into another Gilgamesh before. It says, until end of turn, Gilgamesh doubles its power and gains first strike and brave and can attack twice this turn. Okay, so pretty good. So he becomes a 14,000 power and can attack twice this turn, and he has first strike. So that's pretty powerful. So Mustadio is pretty interesting. He is a backup that costs 5. I usually kind of, if I'm playing yellow, I put one of him in there because it says when he enters the field, choose one dull forward and just break it. So he can kind of save your bacon a little bit. Also, it's an EX burst, so if you take damage and he comes out, you can break the guy that hit you to do the damage if he was required, if he didn't have Brave, of course. So, pretty good card. We got another legendary. This is Titus. He is a legendary forward. For each forward other than Titus you control, Titus gains 1,000 power. So if you have 5 dudes out there, he would be at 12,000 power. And then he has a Blitz Ace. So it's an S ability. So you discard another Titus. You pay 2 blue. Dark blue. Until the end of the turn, Titus gains Brave, so he doesn't tap when he attacks, and he can attack as many times as your points of damage. So, if you've been hit 4 times, he can attack 4 times. Very, very powerful effect, especially on an empty board. I've been killed by this a couple times, actually, so it holds a special place in my heart, and I don't like it very much. Because I haven't gotten to do it yet. If I get to do it, I might like it. So anyway, very good card. All right, let's see what we've got here. We got a very common Geomancer. Anything good here? Alexander's pretty good. Choose a forward of cost 5 or more and break it. Pretty good. Japal here is not too bad. It says when he enters the field, all forwards you control gain 4,000 power until end of the turn. So every forward you have gets plus 4,000 until end of turn when you play this guy. So not too bad. This Warrior of Light is pretty nifty. He says all of your standard units. So I showed you this guy as a standard unit, and there's a couple others that I've showed you. But this is a backup, so it would be any forwards that are standard units get 2,000 power and first strike while he's in play. So pretty powerful if you're using a bunch of standard units. And we do have Kuja from Final Fantasy IX. And it says, when Kuja is chosen by a summoner ability of your opponent discards 1 card. I can see some combo potential with him and some of the discard effects from the new set. I have opened a box and a half of the new set of Opus 3. And I do like where some of those cards are going. It's pretty nifty. I will be opening, as I said, a box of Opus 3 for my next video. Just so you guys can see some of those cards. I opened too much of Opus 2, so I probably won't be doing a video of that because I opened, I bought 9 boxes, sold 2 of them, and opened 7 for myself. So I have plenty of Opus 2. Anyway, not a bad card, and it does combo with some certain things. So it's pretty cool. All right. Let's open the next pack. Okay. And here's another standard unit. Foil. All right. So we've got Godot here. Pretty basic stuff. This Ramza is pretty nice because he says for each backup you control, he gains 1,000 power. So if you have like 5 of them, he'd be at 10,000. And then he has an S ability that gives himself 2,000 power, haste, and first strike, which isn't too bad. We already looked at that Sid. And we got a Heroic Emperor from Final Fantasy II. He is a 9,000 power 5-drop that is dark. I believe that's dark, yep. And it says, when the Emperor is put from the field into the break zone, you may search for 1 card named Emperor and play it onto the field. So, like I was talking about before, with that card where you can prevent something from being broken this turn, sometimes people will chain these and to do certain things, and you can stop that by killing your guy and saying you can't kill that guy this turn. So just, you know, a niche interaction, but could be relevant. All right. Let's see what else we've got here. All right. All right. And I didn't go over this at the beginning, but my name is Jeremy. I have not figured out what I'm going to call the name of my channel or anything yet, but I'm here doing this for you guys. So here's a Ramza, very basic, common foil. We talked about this Cecil, we talked about this Squall, and we talked about this Furion. Our heroic card is Maria, and it says, forwards you control gain 1,000 power. Now, if you notice, she's a backup. We had some other backups that gave 1,000 power to specific colors. This one's just, you know, across the board, all your guys get plus 1,000. So pretty cool, not too bad. Not sure you want to. It's kind of a niche thing. If you're playing a bunch of guys and just attacking all out, she might be good for you. Otherwise, there are usually better backups that can do cool things. I'm hoping we run into some of them so I can kind of show you some of the backups that are really, really good, other than Shantoto, because that one's just dumb. All right, what do we got here? We got a Moogle. Moogles are fun. It's just a draw 2, discard 1. Not too bad. All right, we got that Vincent. This is a Vincent from the starter deck in foil. Okay, here we go. We got a couple of interesting ones. We're not going to go over Amodar right now. Yuna, there's a couple of really good Yuna backups. This one's the not as good one, but it says the cost required to cast your water summons is reduced by 1. So, but it can't go to 0. So they're reduced by 1 down to a possible cost of 1. So if you have her in play, all of your water summon cards, not forwards, they would be summon cards, are reduced by 1, and that can have an effect because then you can play more in a turn, and it turns out to be pretty good. This Riku is actually very interesting. It says when she enters the field, choose up to 5 backups and return them to their hands. Now, so if you remember that Shantoto we looked at, if when she comes into play, you exile or remove from the game all forwards that are in play. So if you wanted to do that again, you could play this Riku and return her to your hand and play her again. Of course, that's a big energy use, but if it's necessary to do it to win the game, you could do that. But any come into play effects and things like that would help for this. So it's very interesting. Interesting use. There are also cards in the new set that say if you have a certain number of cards in hand, something happens with this character. So one of the guys gets like plus 3,000 or plus 5,000 attack when you have 5 or more cards in hand. So you could just play her, bring those all back, and be like, okay, I'm going to attack with a huge dude. So there's some use for that. Then we got good old Golbez from Final Fantasy IV. He's a 6-drop for 9,000 power. When he's put from the field into the break zone, you may search for up to 4 forwards of cost 2, each of a different element, and play them onto the field. Their auto abilities will not trigger, however. So, like I said, if somebody finds a way to kill this guy, they can just go grab 4 dudes and put them into play. Yeah, so that's a pretty powerful effect. And so he's a 9,000 power, and you could just keep attacking with him. And at some point, you're going to have to kill him. Otherwise, he's going to, do enough damage to kill you. But when he dies, he brings out 4 other guys. So, pretty powerful. And that is a legendary. So, that is, I think, our 4th legendary now. I don't know if I'm going to get that Zidane. I'm going to be very upset. All right, got a foil Alexander. All right. This is a different Sephiroth. This one's kind of cool. It's another combo with the discards. It says when he enters the field, each player discards 2 cards. So not too bad. This is Zack. If you control Aerith, any Aerith out there, Zack gains 2,000 power. And you deal an opponent's forward 2,000 damage when he comes into play. Not too bad. We've talked about this Yuffie. This Squall is very interesting. It is another legendary, so we're actually doing pretty good on legendaries here. When Squall blocks or is blocked, choose 1 forward. You may deal it 6,000 damage. So if he's blocked or if he blocks somebody or is blocked, you can do 12,000 damage to that guy because he'll do his normal damage. And you get to add another 6,000 to it. And the cool thing is that happens before combat damage. So if they don't have at least 6,000 power, they just die immediately. So it's a very, very powerful effect. And then you can also give him first strike, so he can do that 12,000 damage before they even get a chance to damage him. So very nifty card. And he's a 3-drop with 6,000 power. That's pretty good. All right. Let's keep going here. All right, what's our foil Geomancer? Not very impressive. All right. We have 2 different Onion Knights here, which is kind of interesting. One of them is a purple one that says when it enters the field, choose 1 damage forward and deal it 5,000, which we talked about something similar earlier. The Onion Knight here, choose 1 back up and activate it when you play it, so that's pretty interesting. And we have yet another legendary here. It's Jekt. For each forward opponent controls, Jekt gains 1,000 power. And then he has an ultimate that is just, an S ability that says break a forward. So that's fun. Very, very good card. All right. Let's do some more here. Very basic summoner is the foil here. We got some interesting cards here to go over. We got that Onion Knight again. We got Hecatonche. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this one's kind of cool. Choose 1 backup if cost 3 or more, break it. So pretty cool. Here's Lulu. That's the exact same thing that we've seen before, but for purple. Lightning forward you control, gain 1,000 power. And then we've got Cloud of Darkness here, which is a very, very cool card. So it says when she enters the field, each player selects 1 forward they control and all forwards that were not selected are put into the break zone. So essentially, she comes in and says, okay, everybody dies except for one person on either side. So you can choose your most powerful, they can choose their most powerful, and then you can battle it out from there. Pretty cool card. The sad part about, I think it's Cloud of Darkness, which is the one when it's in foil, there's only like a little corner of it that's actually foiled because of the way the card looks. So it's very interesting. All right, let's see what we've got here. Another starter card, the Cloud Starter, that is in foil here. I do like getting those because they're a lot harder to get. Now we have a different type of thing. So we've got Odin here. It says choose one forward of cost 4 or less and break it. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, so we've got Hades here. It says choose one forward and one backup. Opponent controls, dole the forward and return the backup to its owner's hand, and then they discard a card. So if they have only 0 cards in hand and you do this, they have to discard that backup that you return to their hand. Just another annoying blue card, of course, you know, because that's how it works. This Lebro is exactly the same as all those other ones, just for fire. Gives them all 1,000. Here's Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. Everybody's aware of the mad clown. He's a backup 4 cost that says you tap him and choose one forward you control. It gains 5,000 power till the end of turn, and at the end of the turn, break it. So this is a combo with kind of like that one guy we were looking at earlier that brings in 4 dudes when he dies. You can just give him 5,000 power, throw him at the other guy, you know, kill one of their dudes, and then when he dies at the end of turn, you get 4 dudes to replace him. So some cool combos there. All right. Go on to the next one here. All right. We do have Brother. He is another starter. Again, I'm very happy to get those. Oh, I got one of the better cards here. So Yagorosh, summons abilities, must choose him. We talked about him earlier. Terra, we talked about earlier. This is a different Bartz. The cool thing about Bartz is that he has all the jobs, meaning that when something says your job name blah gets plus 2,000 power, he gets that as well. So he's a very, very cool card, very diverse. You can put him in any job style deck because there are decks that can use just all the same type of job to get bonuses and things like that, and he gets all of them. So you can add him to any deck like that. Very cool card. This card right here is kind of the source of my nightmares a little bit. No, I love this card, and I'm glad I got one. I think I have 2 currently, so this completes my playset. But it is a Cloud. He is a light color, so he's white. He has Brave, so he doesn't tap to attack. And he has 2 S abilities, okay? One of them says deal 4,000 damage to all the forwards your opponent controls, right? So I'm just gonna, do 4,000 damage to all your dudes. And if your strategy is to swarm the board with low drops that are, and then just attack through all my guys, I just cleared your board, and now, you're not gonna be having a good time. And then he's got Omni Slash, which says choose one forward and just break it, and you could do that after you attack with him because he has Brave. So yeah, and you can do that in your opponent's turn, incidentally, which is, even more ridiculous. But again, he is a light one, so you can only have one light guy in play at once. So you can't really stack up on light guys, but it's still a powerful effect, especially for a 4-drop. It's just kind of ridiculous. Cat Sith, we already talked about. Oh, hey, here's the dark version of the backup that gives any color. I have a ton of those, but they are nice to have. So if you're playing a multicolored deck, it is always very, very good to have some of these in there, either light or dark, because you can't play both. but it's very nifty to have. So, all right, the Ranger there. We've already talked about those. Here's a different Firion. When he enters the field, choose one forward and deal it 5,000 or 4,000 damage rather. But he has a 4-drop with 8,000 power, which is pretty good. So some of the Firions are really, really nice. And other ones are kind of meh, you know. But that's, you kind of have to have that. You don't want everybody running, you know, ridiculous stuff all the time. Although that's how these card games end up anyway. Got yet another starter deck card that is in foil, and I'm happy about that. All right, we've got Huge here, or Yuge, whatever. I don't know. You guys figure it out. I don't know. So basically he says, when he enters the field, draw a card and then place one card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. You can just filter through some of your stuff with that. It's pretty good. Then we've got Nuge. Nuge enters the field from your opponent's... when Nuge enters the field, your opponent discards one card, and when he leaves the field, your opponent discards one card. So, kind of screwed either way there. But again, it works in synergy with some of those discard effects that I was talking about in the new set. And that Bart's again. This time we did get Garland, who's different from what we've seen before. He has Brave, and he says when he attacks, he gains 4,000 power until the end of turn. So he's always at 12,000 when he's attacking. And he doesn't tap to attack, so not too bad. All right. Okay, what do we got? All right, we got a foil version of that Firion we talked about. We talked about these. Let's see, this is Zach. Zach says if you control Aerith, oh yeah, we talked about that one. Layla is kind of interesting. In Magic, there's these creatures that have abilities where if they hit the opponent, you draw cards, and that's exactly what she does. So she 3-drop with 6,000 power, and when she deals damage to your opponent, you draw a card. So pretty powerful effect, not overwhelming by any means, but good enough. And drawing cards in this game, because you start with 5 cards, and the first player draws 1, second player draws 2, and then everybody draws 2 thereafter. Card drawing in the game, because as I said, you can discard cards to pay costs, you can run out of cards pretty fast. So there's that black belt thing. We talked about this one. We talked about this one. And this Hope we actually haven't seen yet, but this Hope is pretty nice. He enters the field, choose one backup you control and activate it. If you have cast Alexander this turn, activate all of them you control instead. So that can be a turnaround turn for sure. So if you have 5 of them out there, you tap them, you play Alexander, then you play Hope, you get to untap all of them and do more stuff that turn. So it's pretty cool. So this Vanilla is a Vanille, I guess is what they call her in Final Fantasy 13. When Vanilla is put from the field into the break zone, search for one card named Hecatonche and remove it from the game. If you do so, return her to the field dull. So if you are playing Hecatonche and Vanille, you can kind of combo and keep her out there if you want. Granted, they do get 1 turn with her dull, but that's still pretty cool. Just a little bit of a combo. And it's kind of flavorful too because she rides Hecatonche in the game, so it's kind of nifty that it kind of comes and saves her. So I like the flavor. Got a Shiva foil. All right, what do we got here? We got Delita from Tactics. When he enters the field, choose one character you control and break it. So you can break your own character. Like I said, there are some combos that you can use with that one guy, you know, and get 3 other dudes or 4 other dudes if you break them with Delita. But he has a 3-drop with 9,000 power, and he has an S ability that says if somebody's blocking him, you can just kill it. So that's fun. Vaughn is interesting. Very, very cool effect. When he enters the field, draw a card. When he forms a party and attacks, draw 1 card and then discard 1 card. So he loots whenever you form a party with him. and when he enters the field, you draw a card. And drawing cards, as I said, is very, very good in this game. Orin is kind of interesting. As a backup, he has an S ability that says dull all the forwards your opponents control. So that can be a card that can kind of turn the game around or just win for you out of nowhere. So it's pretty cool. Joseph here is a little bit different take on one of the things we talked about earlier. He has a forward, he has Brave, and he says tap him and break him and choose a blocking forward. It cannot be broken this turn. So if you have a guy that's blocking and you want to save him because he's blocking somebody way bigger than himself, you can do that with Joseph. All right, what else we got here? Getting out of the wire here, guys, and I haven't gotten the card that I want. But, it's okay. I'll cry later. Got Seraphy. Let's see. Lulu, Hecatonche, which we talked about earlier. And Huge. I don't know. Anyway. This Terra is kind of ridiculous. It's a different Terra. It says the cost required for your opponent to cast summons increases by 1. So we talked about that Aerith earlier that reduces the cost of your summons by 1 of that specific color. This one, any summon they want to play increases the cost by 1. And she can't be targeted by your opponent's summons, which is just kind of doubly rude. And then she has an S ability to give herself plus 3,000 and first strike until the end of turn. So very interesting and very powerful card. Again, the blue colors are very annoying, and that kind of fits that theme. All right. Looks like we're down to the last 5 packs after this one. Ooh, that's awesome. I like that. I got a lightning from the...
Sorry, I don't know that.
Oh, hey. Thanks for that, Alexa. Okay, she didn't hear me. Good. I got a lightning from the starter deck. If it happens to Frank Lepore, it can happen to me, I guess. That's, this is from the starter deck. Again, a foil from the starter. I do like getting those. Fang is, this card is very interesting because of the interaction with Bahamut. Bahamut is one of the best removal spells in the game. It says choose 2 forwards and deal them, I think it's 10,000 damage apiece. And she reduces the cost of it by 2, which means that it becomes a 6-drop instead of an 8-drop. So very, very good card. Not overly powerful, but its interaction with Bahamut is really nice. Seymour, as a backup, says when he comes in the field, choose a forward of 3 or less, break it. Very, very good card. We did talk about this Hope already, and we've got Orlando here from Tactics. When he attacks, deal 3,000 damage to all the forwards your opponent controls, and you can pay 2 lightning to give him haste. So you, again, one of those cards that says if they're trying to flood the board with low-powered dudes, you can just play him, give him haste, attack, and kill everybody, which is kind of rude, but, hey, it's part of the game. All right. Getting down to the wire. Ooh, we got a chemist. All right. Here we go. All right, we talked about this Ramza. Here's the good Aerith that I was hoping we would run into. So this Aerith says when she enters the field, choose up to 3 backups you control and activate them. So she's basically free. If you have 3 backups, she's free. And then she has an S ability that says activate all forwards you control, and they can't be targeted by summons or abilities this turn. So that is an extremely powerful ability. So basically, if they're trying to target your dude with a summon to send it to your hand or whatever, you can say, nope, I'm going to activate all my dudes, and now you can't target them. So very, very powerful effect. If you can find this Aerith, it should go in pretty much every green deck that you have, along with a couple more copies so you can use that S ability. Vaughn here. When Vaughn enters field, you may play 1 wind forward, cost 3 or less from your hand on the field. And when Vaughn attacks, choose up to 2 backups you control and activate them. So just another mana efficiency or crystal efficiency guy from the green color. But very, very cool. So you get to play a free dude when you put him into play, and you get to activate backups whenever he attacks, which is very, very nice. Actually, I lied. We are now down to the last 6. So we're getting there. We've opened 30 packs. All right, what's next? All right, we got Joseph. We already talked about him. Nuge. We got Dodge, who is from, it's Saz's son. So this is another one where if you control Saz, it can't be targeted by summons or abilities while Dodge is in play. And Dodge is a backup, so very, very nice, especially if you're playing him. This is a cool card. Odin, 7-drop, choose a forward, break it. I like it, very simple. Here's a Riku that I really, really like. Of course, if you know anything about me, which you don't because this is my first video, but anybody that knows me knows that Riku is one of my favorite Final Fantasy characters of all time. So I like all the Riku cards. I'm hoping to get most of them, if not all of them, in foil. Some of them aren't good enough to play, but, you know, I like having them because she's a great character. So, one of the cool things she does is you can tap a green, tap her, and make your opponent mill a card. And then she has an S ability that says, it's the same thing where they put the top 2 into their graveyard or their break zone, and you draw a card. So, a little bit of cool synergy there with some of the other things we were talking about before with the discards and drawing cards being very important. All right. All right, here's that Vincent that we talked about before, but also in... oh, yeah! All right, so here's another one of those Aeriths. Again, get a bunch of those because they're great. And I got one of the Zidanes. Very, very happy. And you'll see why. So, it's a 2-drop green card with 3,000 power. Doesn't sound very impressive, does it? Now, read the rest of this. It says, Zidane cannot be chosen by your opponent's summons or abilities. So he's hexproof. You can't target him with anything. And Zidane cannot be blocked by a forward of cost 4 or more. So, just a very annoying and cool card. That is my second copy of him. When this game first came out, that guy was going for $60 to $80. I don't know what he's going for now. I haven't looked because they've done some re-releases. When this first came out, they severely underprinted it and made everybody very angry. But they have since done a couple more re-releases and gotten back on track a little bit. So this Squall, I believe we talked about. We did. It is in foil this time. We've talked about this, and we haven't talked about Sylph. Sylph is a very simple summon, costs 1, says choose 1 forward, activate it, and all of the forwards you control gain 1,000 power till end of turn. Very, very simple. We did get a Lawn, finally. Lawn cannot be blocked by forward with power greater than his, which is very, very cool. And Lawn cannot block a forward with power greater than his. So he's basically a wuss, is what the deal is. And if you've played World of Final Fantasy, you know that to be true. He's a shit talker. That's just what he is. And my wife nodded at the affirmative there. So, all right, let's go into the last few packs here. Ooh, nice pull. I got the Legendary Lightning in foil. This is a very, very good card. It's a 6-drop Lightning for 9,000 power. When it enters the field, you can search for a card named Odin. And if you notice that Odin we opened before just says, kill a guy. So, pretty nice. And then she has an S ability that says, until end of turn, Lightning gains haste, first strike, and when Lightning attacks, choose 1 forward opponent controls. If if it is possible, it must block. So you can just basically pick off their team one at a time. Just go, okay, I'm going to pick you off for 9,000 first strike. Pick you off for 9,000 first strike. It's very, very cool. And I like having it in foil. And it's a very nice picture of lightning too. So, all right. We've already talked about all of these. Hey, it's a snow card that we haven't talked about. This snow is freaking annoying. It's a 1-drop, 3,000 power. When snow attacks, choose a forward opponent controls and dull it. So you basically just attack with him and you tap one of their dudes. And if you've cast Shiva this turn, you get to freeze it. So that means it doesn't untap the next turn. It's just a really annoying card. Very good card, but very annoying, you know, as is typical with blue cards, as usual. But I'm very happy with this box. I did get my Zidane, so I'm a little ecstatic about that. Of course, I still need one more for my playset, but, you know, can't have it all, can we? All right, here's a Squire. Okay, so Gabranth here says for each point of damage you have received, Gabranth gains 1,000 power. So you can take up to 7. So, you know, that's 6 would be 14,000 power. And if you have 6 points of damage or more, which if you have more, you die. So I guess I don't understand that. But he gains Brave. So not too bad. Agrias has First Strike. And when she enters the field, you can search for Ovelia and add it to your hand. Very basic card there. We already talked about Nora. Here's Guy. He's brave, got a 4-drop for 8,000, and he can't become dull by your opponent's summons abilities, which is pretty good. This is like the anti-blue card, which is very nice because blue is annoying. It doesn't actually kill your stuff, it just taps it or send it back to your hand. You know, one of those things that makes you want to punch a baby or something. I don't know. What? Look at me that look. All right. Yag Roche, we talked about. This one's in foil. Lebro, we talked about. Odin, we talked about. And Delita, we talked about. Hey, this is another cool card to end on here. This Onion Knight's very interesting. It's a 2-drop light card that's 5,000 power and has haste. And you pay 1 and tap it. You can return this to its hand. And you can play a card named Onion Knight from your hand onto the field. And you can only do this during your turn. So it's a very interesting concept. But if you have 2 of these, you can block forever without actually losing one. So very interesting. Interesting card. It's kind of a niche thing again, but very cool. So I'm going to pull out the stuff that's really nice here. So we got that lightning. We've got this Zidane here. All right, let's keep going here. Yeah, I'm just going to pull out the ones that I think are best pulls for this particular one. This Cloud is amazing. Eject is pretty good. And Squall is pretty good. And then I forgot one. Oh, there's still another pack, or another thing here. All right. This Golbez. Titus. Sephiroth. Wow, we did really well. Have to pull out Minwoo because he's ridiculous. Shantoto. All right. So, if you look here, we've got 2 foil legendaries, 7 regular legendaries, and a Minwoo, which is basically a legendary. So, yeah, I did pretty good. And obviously this one, Minwoo's always good. I like this lightning a lot. And this Titus is ridiculous. So these are my favorites from this box. But that's nothing to shake a stick at here. Very good. Very good box, I think, especially because I got a Zidane. I had opened, I think, 4 boxes before and only got 1. So I'm very, very happy to have a second one. Now I just need to find somebody to trade with, get that third one. And I think now this completes my cloud set. I have plenty of Minwoos. I'm trying to keep like 2 play sets of them though because it's so good. I'm going to have to double check all this stuff against the stuff that I already have. I did want to show you guys really fast the box that I have. So here's the set 3. Nice cool picture of Sephiroth on the packs. This is the half box that I've opened already. But I do have an unopened box of Opus 3. If you can see, it still has the cellophane on it. I will be opening this in one of my next videos. And yeah, so I appreciate anybody that watched this. I know it's probably going to get like 3 views, but that's okay, because very first video. But I'm okay with that. If you have any questions, drop me a line on here. I will answer any questions you might have. Couple little things real fast. I have not played any tournaments of this because, again, the releases have been, or had been, really slow. So it's really hard to run tournaments on for things that it's hard to get product for. So there hadn't been a lot of tournaments around where I live. So I haven't played in any tournaments. I have played quite a few games with some friends. I do know the rules a little bit. They hadn't, at the time that I was last checking, they hadn't released the tournament rules here in the States yet. So I'm hoping they do that soon so I can kind of go over those and give you guys some ideas for decks and things like that. I do have some decks built and stuff like that. But anyway, drop me a line. Let me know what you think. Let me know what kind of decks you like to play. Things like that. And until next time, have fun playing Final Fantasy.